If the world was all nihilist,
I wouldn't want that.
why? Would you want to be a nihilist or a Christian?
Ruslan.
I watched Matt Delahanty debate Glenn Scrivener.
Scrivener.
Glenn Scrivener. Remember I told you he wrote the Dominion version of
I see.
Yeah, Glenn Scrivener. Great debate. And man, I was like, I watched that and I was like, really, I'm sitting down with Jared. I want to really, I really want to understand secular humanism.
Yeah.
I really want to understand nihilism. And bro, I think it requires way more squinting than to what is intrinsically someone's deposited into this world. Remove the Bible. Was I created? Or that I have to create these arguments for this level of chemistry and biology where these elements kind of started sparking and creating, like on an intrinsic level, creator, no creator, designer, no designer. I think like on a very intrinsic level, people go creator, designer. I'm here for the purpose. And anyway, I could walk you through the fine tuning, the intrinsic aspect of why I created. Then I could walk you through like, man, the story of Jesus is the opposite of everything we know about how humans behave.
Yeah.
Might is right. Yet you got the most powerful being dying for the least powerful, right? And then he says that example, right? So it's like the what do you do with the mystery of the disciples being convinced? I think it requires way less squinting,
right,
than atheistic nihilism.
I would say that nihilism is one of the simplest philosophies and ideologies. It is so stupid simple. It's just really, really difficult emotionally.
I could tell.
Yeah.
I could tell. So do you think nihilism serves you well?
No.
Okay.
No, but I try not to base my worldview on what is emotionally advantageous. I try to base it on what's true.
Okay. So do you think nihilism is harmful?
For some people, right? Case in point would be the Columbine killers. For other people, I talked to my buddy the other day and we were shooting the breeze about nihilism. And he was like, you mean everything's going to be forgotten? Thank God, man. Because woof, my middle school days, so glad that that's just going to be someday totally forgotten, out of everyone's mind. There's going to be a final rest. That to him is really appealing.
The final rest would be appealing.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean,
interesting.
I've talked to some people who, have just said straight up like, oh, what about heaven? I asked them like, well, what about heaven? What about an eternal resurrection? What about living on earth, with Christ in perpetuity? And they're like, I don't want to live forever. Why would I want that?
I think living forever in a new heaven, new earth, new body.
That's what I'm
Jesus,
saying.
That sounds fire.
I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
For these people, they say, I don't want that. I just want to be able to turn it off someday. I want to be able to shut off the TV and have some peace and quiet. Put an end to the story. Put a stamp on it.
Okay.
So I think for some people, it's totally fine.
Okay.
I think for other people, I think it's not great.
Generally.
Generally.
If the world was all nihilist.
I wouldn't want that.
Why?
Because then you're talking about statistics, right? And statistically, 1% of people are going to be psychopathic.
The Occupy Till I Come 60-day devotional is back in stock. This is taking you through the entire narrative of the scriptures in 60 days with custom daily devotional prompts. So what you're doing is you're spending 35 days in the Old Testament, 25 days in the New Testament, going over all the major stories. There's additional reading for you to go deeper if you want to go deeper on the stories. And you can get them right now bundled up with a virtual ticket to our Bless God Summit. Bless God Summit is coming up March 27th, 28th, 29th in beautiful Southern California. My favorite podcasters, apologists, pastors, preachers, entrepreneurs, all in the same room. Day 1, we're talking about apologetics. Day 2, we're talking about virtue. Day 3, we're going out into the marketplace and being the hands and feet of Jesus. This is going to be a wonderful event. And what you could do is you could actually get the devotional bundled with the virtual ticket for only $65. So go to blessgodshop.com, get yourself a 60-day devotional. I promise you the feedback on these has been crazy. You will love it. Designed by my guy, Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil. The beautiful artwork, okay? So go to blessgod.shop, get yours now, okay? Mean the world to me.
Yeah, and I don't know that Again,
David Wood would be a wild boy if he was an
maybe
atheist
he
nihilist.
would be, and maybe he wouldn't.
Well,
be.
he was as an atheist. He beat his father's head in and went to prison.
Woof.
You know, as an atheist nihilist. So the psychopath, you know, to your point, like the psychopath with Okay, so it doesn't sound like it serves you well. It doesn't sound like it adds good. It may work for some people.
Yeah.
Yet you believe it's true.
I also want to make sure that we're not doing a false dichotomy of like, oh, well, would you rather be a Christian or a nihilist?
That's not what I'm arguing.
So I mean, I just want to make sure that the audience doesn't misunderstand that.
Sure. Would you rather be a Christian? It sounds like you would. It sounds like if you have to suspend belief in both claims, and we're not talking about what you believe is true, but how would you prefer to live? Is it fair to say you would probably?
I would prefer to live honestly.
Okay, but it would remove you being convinced with certainty that nihilism is true, because it sounds like that you would use similar language. If it wasn't a question of convinced and certainty, and it was a question of both of these frameworks require an equal amount of faith, from my vantage point. Just suspend that you think I'm totally wrong and it's all you're 100% right, I'm 100% wrong. Just suspend that.
Sure.
Would you want to be a nihilist or a Christian?
I'll throw you a bone. Maybe Christian.
You have to throw
I'm feeling charitable.
I'm shocked that it took you that long to answer that question, but I appreciate you answering it. And I appreciate your vulnerability with the way you speak about nihilism, because I think you're honest in it. Let me give you an example, and I'll tell you who this is off the record. There's a predominant, pretty high profile person who deconverted from Christianity. He's one of the most prolific voices within a specific niche that I follow. I don't want to like really speak over them. And one of the things that to me, I think we're hardwired for by God as people is to have family and enjoy the beauty and the goodness of family.
Sure.
And he doesn't want that anymore because he's a nihilist, and there's no meaning and there's no guarantee that he would be a good parent, and he would ruin his kids. And so his entire worldview is now, I'm a nihilist. There's no meaning. I don't want kids. I don't want family. I just want to work. What brings me the most amount of joy is working 18 hours a week. He's kind of created his own meaning.
I'm sorry, 18 hours a week?
Excuse me, 18 hours a day.
Oh.
Sun up to sundown. He just wants to work. That's where I
was about to say, that's my dream as well.
As a nihilist, that's where he finds his value and his meaning. Sure. He creates his own meaning, and family is outside of that meaning. Now, he's entering the age where that may be irreversible with his spouse.
Sure.
Who's, by all intents and purposes, because I think they're Christian background and a Christian worldview, I actually think they have implemented a lot of Christian virtues into their marriage without even knowing it. So I think they're going to stay together. That clock is going to tick eventually, and then before you know it, you'll wake up, you're 45, you're 50 years old. I'm not talking to you. I mean this person. Right. And then you don't have kids, and you miss out on the joy, and you miss out on the beauty of family. And I don't know, I'm assuming you do want kids and want to be married at some point. Yeah. So that's what I mean. That I say all that to say that's what I mean by
So, I mean, I think that you can do all of that within a nihilistic worldview.
Okay.
I mean...
But do you see what I'm saying? When meaning is removed and there's no objective, you're be fruitful and multiply.
Sure.
Right? How do we change the world? In my opinion, having more godly Christian kids.
Sure. Because
the secular materialists aren't having as many. So we proliferate the world with more Christian kids. We teach them to love God, love neighbor. We teach them to be useful and to also help other people with the excess that they have. And I think that's one of the ways we change the world, right? Be fruitful and multiply. So, but you don't have that imperative anymore as a nihilist. Not you, but he doesn't have that imperative anymore as a nihilist. So then he says, I'm suspending this thing as a parent, and I don't want to be a parent, and I don't care to be a parent, and I'm just going to live for myself right here and now, because I'll be forgotten in 100 years from now anyway.
Sure. First and foremost, I hope that I hope that people are not having kids strictly out of a theological imperative.
Oh, some people are, for sure. Shout out to the Catholics. Props to the Catholics. Props. I mean, we know a lot of people who are like, we feel like as many as God will give us. That's a theological imperative,
right?
You know?
Right.
I don't. By the way, that's not my imperative.
Sure.
You know, I got two, and I feel like this is great for us, and we can help other kids.
Sure. I mean,
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
No,
Go ahead.
no, you're fine.
I always feel like you start and then I like say something and then you're trying to find your place. So forgive me.
You are
the comment
forgiven.
is coming.
Forgiven. Grace and mercy.
Stop cutting off Jared Ruslan. That's coming. Go ahead.
You're good, man. When I think about how I do morality as a nihilist, it's sort of like being suspended in midair.
Okay.
I've decided to live my life in such a way that it would bring about the society that I want to live in 50 years from now.
Okay.
I don't believe that moral actions have eternal, unending consequences. I think that they have temporary, real consequences. If you want to bastardize your children and, you know, become a workaholic and become estranged from your wife, I think you can do that. I don't think God's going to smite you, but I don't think you want to do that. Mm-hmm. If you're really thinking logically and you're thinking about the long-term implications of that, I don't think you want that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you want to come to a point where you're 70 and you've regretted all of it. Mm-hmm. So I think for the vast majority of people, they don't need the religious add-on to that.
Do you think they can come to those conclusions on their own, though?
Can they come to those conclusions on their own?
I think there's a conscious that we all have that's wired by God. I would say that's eternity is written on the hearts of man.
Sure.
Right. And I think there's they that had no law were a law unto themselves. Romans 2. So I think there's that. But do you think most people can figure all of this out intrinsically?
Or do they need the guardrails of the church and the Bible?
Yeah. Community, guardrails of the Bible and community. And
I think the majority of people would be fine without it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think.
Because, I mean, I think that I'm a really smiley person.
You're a very happy person.
I'm a very happy person, which is hilarious because I think humans are worthless.
Mm-hmm. You said it.
I did. Again, I'm not a spokesperson for atheists. I can't turn that off. And I don't think that having a Bible verse that said, you know, be nice and tip your waitress would really change how I do things. I think that I can't turn off who I am as a person. When you're talking about really difficult and austere actions as people, you know, doing the right thing, I don't think that that's how you get people there.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.